Hi there, this video is all about a spring visit to Massif, a ski resort roughly 1 hour's drive from Quebec City in Canada. We visited in early April 2024 as part of a road trip in the region, so you'll see the conditions near the end of their snow season, along with the day trip experience as a first timer to the resort. First things first, Massif is pretty unique among ski resorts in that the base building where you arrive, park, buy tickets and rent gear is near the top of the mountain, not at the bottom. So if it's snowing or windy, you're going to experience the most extreme conditions upon arrival at the summit lodge, which is at 710 meters. When we visited, Quebec was in the middle of a storm with high winds and fresh snowfall. This in turn made the journey in our small rental vehicle a bit of a challenge. The first half hour from Quebec City was fine, but as we steadily climbed towards the base building, the road became increasingly covered in snow, even with frequent ploughs clearing the way. We managed, but it was slow going. So if you're planning a visit in winter, I'd recommend using a vehicle designed to handle these kind of conditions. There's a series of car parks towards the summit, and at quieter times midweek and towards the end of the season, you should be able to park your car pretty much outside the summit building. As you enter, you'll find ticketing on the left, next to a large trail map on the wall, and a restaurant next door which had reduced options at this point in the season. Meanwhile, on the right side are water fountains, bottle refills and toilets, followed by a couple of large open-plan seating areas where you can eat or take a rest. Head downstairs to the shop, lockers, changing area, more toilets and the rental facilities. On the April weekday that we visited, we paid 136 Canadian dollars for an adult pass and $95.20 for a youth pass, the latter for ages 13 to 17. The total, including taxes, was 265 Canadian dollars, and that includes RFID cards to use at the gates. Once you have your ticket, you can visit the rental office in the basement. This time, prices are the same for ages 13 upwards, with full packages starting at 65 Canadian dollars, each for basic skis or snowboards with boots and bindings. More advanced ski gear is also available, and prices increase during high season. Our pair of basic snowboards, boots and step-in bindings worked out at just under 150 Canadian dollars, including taxes. With our gear sorted, it was time to exit the building and hit the first run, La Petite Rivière, a nice long cruisy blue, representative of the resort as a whole. Again, it's interesting to start your day at the top of the mountain with a run rather than a lift from the bottom, with the high winds quickly diminishing as we headed down. Like most North American ski resorts, the runs are lined by trees, and as you approach the bottom of the resort here, you'll see the huge St. Lawrence River stretching out before you, looking almost as if you're skiing or riding towards the sea. Inevitably, for the time of year, the snow became patchy and slushy towards the bottom, and you may need to briefly walk to your lift to head back up again, but during our visit, this was never more than a few minutes. Some of the lifts were also closed, perhaps due to the time of year or the high wind conditions, but enough were open to fully explore the resort, with only a handful of runs being inaccessible. These were generally the hardest runs, with most blues and greens staying open. It was also really quiet, with what felt like only 50 or so people on the mountain. On some runs we didn't see anyone at all, and suffice it to say there was no queuing for any lifts. It's also easy to quickly pop back to the summit lodge for a rest, a drink or a bite to eat, and if you brought your own food, there's also microwaves to heat it up. Overall, we enjoyed our spring visit to Massif, with some late snowfall enhancing the conditions, even if it did mean a tricky drive in our vehicle and some very high winds at the top of the mountain. If you have some spare time on your visit, I can also highly recommend checking out Montmorency Falls, just 10 minutes drive from Quebec City. It's actually en route to Massif, so you could, in theory, bag it on your way to the mountain or on your return to the city if time is tight. Let me know in the comments if you've visited Massif and which are your favourite resorts. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out my other videos, which include reviews of day trips to Killington in Vermont and Kagura in Japan. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.